You know that feeling, don't you? Like the butterflies you get before a big presentation?
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe just that nagging gut instinct
Hmm.
where you feel like something's just off.
Hmm.
We say things like gut feeling or gut reaction all the time, but have you ever really stopped to think about why?
Yeah.
Why you feel those things physically? Like right in your stomach.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Because those sayings, they're not just, quaint metaphors. They're actually pointing to something very real,
Okay,
something incredibly complex happening inside your body, a whole communication network between your brain and, well, your digestive system.
exactly. And what's really surprising, maybe even a little mind-blowing, is that your gut,
Mm.
it actually has its own nervous system, a big one.
It really does. Scientists call it the enteric nervous system, the ENS. And
Yeah.
it's so vast, so complex that it's kind of earned this nickname, the second brain.
A second brain, hidden away in your gut.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that kind of fact just makes you stop and think, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
So, for this deep dive, we've gone through all the material you shared.
Mm-hmm.
We really want to understand what this connection actually is, how it works,
Mm-hmm.
and they're really surprising ways it impacts pretty much everything. Your mood, your health,
Yeah.
maybe even how you think.
Yeah, the implications are huge.
So we're going to dig into the latest research, what it's uncovering, and maybe explore some new approaches to well-being, including stuff you can actually do yourself. Let's unpack this.
Okay, let's do it. So maybe first, let's define this connection properly. Think of it less like a simple link and more like a complex highway.
Highway.
Yeah, a bidirectional communication highway. Signals are just constantly zipping back and forth between your digestive system, your gut, and your central nervous system, which is, your brain.
And that bidirectional part, that's really crucial to get right.
Absolutely critical.
Because what happens in your gut can genuinely affect your brain,
Yeah.
and just as much what's going on in your brain can affect your gut, health, or problems in one area.
Mm-hmm.
They can really impact the other.
It's a constant dialogue. And the sheer scale of this communication is, well, it's pretty striking. If you look outside your main brain, there are actually more nerve cells in your gut than anywhere else in your body.
Wait, really? More than your spinal cord? Or
More nerve cells than in the spinal cord, yes. More than anywhere outside the brain itself.
Wow. And the material we looked at also said that more information actually passes between the gut and the brain than between any other body system.
That's right. It's not some minor side communication channel. It's one of the body's busiest superhighways.
A superhighway, okay.
And like any highway system, it relies on a few key players all working together. Researchers call this whole network the gut-brain axis.
Okay, the gut-brain axis. So who are the main players? You mentioned the ENS earlier, the second brain.
Right, the enteric nervous system. That's star player number one. It's basically made up of these two thin layers of nerve cells,
Uh-huh.
and they're embedded right into the walls of your entire GI tract, from your esophagus all the way down.
And it's not small, you said.
Not at all. We're talking well over 100 million nerve cells. Some estimates even push that up towards 500 million neurons. It's huge.
Who's this?
And its main job, its primary role, is to control digestion, mostly independently.
Independently. So without the brain telling it exactly what to do all the time.
Largely, yes. It manages the whole complex process, swallowing, releasing the right enzymes, managing blood flow to absorb nutrients, coordinating, well, elimination. It's running the whole digestive show, more or less on its own.
Okay, so the ENS is like this super capable manager on the ground running the gut operations.
Exactly.
But how does this second brain talk to the main brain, the one in your head?
That's where the vagus nerve comes in. That's player number two. Think of it as the main physical cable connecting the two systems.
The vagus nerve, okay.
It's a major cranial nerve. It runs all the way from the brainstem down into your abdomen, branching out everywhere in the gut. It's the direct line.
And what's it carrying? What kind of messages?
Both kinds. It carries sensory information from the gut up to the brain. Things like, are you full? Is there pain? Discomfort? Are certain nutrients present?
So status reports from the gut.
Exactly. And it also carries motor signals from the brain down to the gut, influencing muscle contractions, secretions, that sort of thing. It's the vital link for reflexes and just keeping the brain informed about the gut state.
Got it. ENS is the local boss. Vagus nerve is the hotline to HQ.
You could put it that way, yeah. And then player number three, the trillions of tiny residents living inside your digestive system.
Ah, the gut microbiome. The bacteria and other microbes.
Billions, maybe trillions of them. Bacteria, viruses, fungi, all living in your gut.
And they're not just sitting there, are they? They're actually involved in this conversation.
Oh, absolutely. This is one of the most exciting areas of research right now. The material we reviewed points out that these gut microbes are busy little chemists. Yeah, they produce, or they help produce, a whole range of chemical compounds, including many of the same neurotransmitters our own brain uses, like serotonin, dopamine, GABA.
Wow. The bacteria in my gut are making brain chemicals.
They are, and these chemicals can signal through the gut wall. They can activate the vagus nerve directly, or some might even travel through the bloodstream. And they have the potential to influence brain function and, yes, even your mood.
That's incredible. So the bugs in your gut might be tweaking your brain chemistry.
It's looking that way. And
Oh.
again, it's a two-way street. The state of your brain, like if you're stressed, and the environment in your gut, influenced by your diet perhaps, can actually change which microbes thrive and how active they are.
So it all influences each other.
Exactly. And we should also mention, quickly, the endocrine system, hormones for hunger and stress, and the immune system are also tangled up in this whole gut-brain axis. It's a very interconnected system.
Okay, so given all this, complexity, why? Why did we evolve this incredibly intricate system connecting our gut and brain so tightly? What's the point?
Well, the material suggests a pretty clear evolutionary reason. Survival.
Survival. Okay.
Think about it. One critical need for our ancestors was getting nutrients efficiently from whatever food they could find, which was probably pretty varied. The ENS is perfectly designed for that complex job.
Makes sense. Get the energy out of the food.
Right. And the other vital need, an alarm system.
An alarm.
Yeah. If you ate something bad, something potentially harmful, your body needed a super fast, effective way to detect it and signal danger. That leads to quick reactions, nausea, pain, diarrhea, to get rid of the threat fast.
The ultimate early warning system. Don't digest the poison.
Exactly. And that brings us right back to those gut feelings, doesn't it? The sources really emphasize this intense feedback loop, especially between emotions and physical gut feelings.
Yeah, like how being stressed can immediately give you a stomachache or
Yeah.
make you feel nauseous.
That's the brain sending signals down, absolutely. But, crucially, it goes the other way, too. Intense physical discomfort or ongoing problems in the gut can significantly ramp up your stress levels. It can negatively impact your emotions.
So it's a cycle. Stress affects the gut. Gut problems affect stress levels.
It's a powerful, tight loop. It was designed for immediate survival, but in our modern lives, sometimes that loop can get stuck and contribute to chronic issues.
This is where it gets really fascinating, moving beyond just digestion. The profound impact this connection has. This is where the material really opened my eyes.
Absolutely. One of the biggest shifts in thinking, based on the research, is around the gut and mood connection. For ages, the standard idea was that anxiety or depression caused gut problems, like IBS, irritable bowel syndrome.
Yeah, that makes intuitive sense. You worry, your stomach hurts.
Right. That was the common assumption. But the research we looked at, it's presenting this really powerful alternative view. It might also happen the other way around.
You mean the gut problems could cause the mood issues?
Exactly. Chronic irritation, inflammation, or just dysfunction in the gut system could be constantly sending these distress signals up the vagus nerve to your brain. And those signals might actually trigger or worsen symptoms of anxiety and depression.
So an unhappy gut could literally be contributing to or even causing an unhappy mood.
Yeah.
That's a major shift in perspective.
It really is. And it starts to make sense of why there's such a huge overlap between things like anxiety and depression and these functional bowel problems like IBS.
Which affect a lot of people, right?
A lot. The material mentioned something like 30 to 40% of the population deals with these kinds of issues at some point. It's probably not just a coincidence. The gut-brain connection might be fueling the fire on both ends.
Okay, beyond mood and digestion.
Yeah.
What else did the sources say is influenced by this gut-brain link?
Oh, the list is pretty broad. It includes basic things like hunger signals and feeling full satiety.
Right.
It can influence your food preferences, even cravings. Metabolism is another big one. There's some really interesting work looking at potential links to type 2 diabetes.
Even how sensitive you are to pain throughout your body might be influenced.
And you mentioned thinking, too. Cognition.
Yeah, the potential link to cognitive function, thinking memory, that's a very active area of research right now. How much the gut influences that is still being worked out.
Yeah.
And the connection is also being investigated for roles in some really serious conditions. Neurodevelopmental ones like autism spectrum disorder, neurodegenerative ones like Parkinson's disease, and even nerve-related pain issues like multiple sclerosis. The potential reach is just surprisingly deep.
Wow. So this understanding, this bidirectional communication, It's genuinely changing how doctors and researchers are approaching conditions that used to seem totally separate.
It absolutely is. Healthcare providers are increasingly thinking about strategies that target both sides of the gut-brain axis, sometimes at the same time.
Okay, like how? What are some examples?
Well, the material discussed medical approaches, like using certain kinds of antidepressants, not primarily for depression, but specifically for conditions like IBS. Hold on. Antidepressants for gut pain. Is that just treating the stress that comes with IBS?
Well, that's the old way of thinking about it. What's revolutionary, what the research suggests, is that these medications might actually be working, at least partly, by calming down the nerve cells in the gut itself.
Acting directly on the second brain.
Exactly. They might be reducing the hyperreactivity of the ENS, which in turn reduces pain signals and other gut symptoms. It's a totally different mechanism than just treating mood.
That makes so much sense now. Okay, what else?
Another really exciting area is targeting the microbiome directly.
Trying to change the bugs.
Basically, yeah. The material mentions strategies like probiotics, adding beneficial bacteria through supplements or foods.
Okay.
Antibiotics, sometimes used very specifically to reduce certain types of bacteria that might be causing trouble. And even fecal microbiota transplantation, FMT, which is a more drastic step to completely reset the gut's microbial community.
Right, FMT. And how's that working out? Are these microbiome treatments effective?
Well, the material noted that while there's definitely promise, the results from human studies are still a bit mixed. It varies. It's a really active area, lots of research happening. But the core idea impacting the brain by changing the gut environment, that's a key takeaway.
And this new understanding, it also explains why mind-body therapies can be so helpful for gut problems, doesn't it?
It really does. It clicks into place once you understand how tightly linked the systems are.
Yeah.
The material detailed several approaches that use the mind to help the gut, like cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT.
CBT for gut issues. How does
Sure.
that work?
CBT helps people identify and then change negative thought patterns and behaviors, especially those related to pain, stress, and how they react to gut symptoms.
So changing how you think about the pain or the symptoms can actually change the physical experience.
Precisely. By sort of reframing how you perceive those signals or how you manage the stress around them, you can potentially dampen the distress signals going up the vagus nerve, and that can help calm the gut down.
Interesting. What about relaxation therapies?
Also very effective. Techniques like guided visualization, progressive muscle relaxation, they help calm the overall nervous system, often used alongside CBT.
And there was something called gut-directed relaxation training. That sounds very specific.
It is. The material described it as using deep relaxation, but with specific suggestions focused right on improving gut function.
Like what?
Like visualizing your digestive system working smoothly and calmly, or practicing a feeling of control over those abdominal sensations. And apparently it can be helpful even if you don't feel particularly stressed.
And biofeedback was mentioned too.
Yeah, biofeedback uses monitoring equipment to give you real-time feedback on things your body usually does automatically, like heart rate or muscle tension. And the idea is you learn to gain some conscious control over them. The material indicated that, especially when combined with other techniques, biofeedback seems to help people manage chronic functional GI issues, possibly by influencing those gut-brain signals.
So it really opens up treatment possibilities from both ends, doesn't it? You can target the gut, you can target the brain's response, or ideally do both, knowing they're constantly talking to each other.
That's the exciting part. And importantly, the material also brought it right back to things you can do, practical steps you can take yourself right now to support this whole system.
Yes. Practical stuff. What does the research suggest are the most impactful things for us personally?
Two big areas really stood out in the material: diet and stress management.
Okay, let's start with diet. What kind of eating helps foster a healthy gut-brain connection?
The really strong recommendation is for a healthy, balanced diet, but with a significant emphasis on variety. Lots of different whole foods, especially plants.
Variety in plants. Why is that combo so important?
Because the diversity in what you eat directly feeds into having a more diverse and resilient gut microbiome. And a diverse microbiome is consistently linked to better gut health overall.
Right. More types of good bugs.
Exactly. And whole plants, they provide the crucial stuff those bugs need.
Like fiber, I assume.
Definitely fiber, all different kinds of fiber. Fiber isn't just, for regularity. It's the main food source for many beneficial gut bacteria.
Okay.
When they ferment that fiber, they produce these amazing compounds called short-chain fatty acids. These actually nourish the cells lining your gut wall, keep it healthy, and some can even signal to the brain. So feeding your microbes is literally like feeding your second brain's support crew.
Feeding the support crew. I like that. Okay, what else do plants offer besides fiber?
Well, they bring prebiotics and probiotics. Probiotics are the live beneficial bacteria themselves. You find them in fermented foods like yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi.
Right.
Prebiotics are specific types of fiber and starches that act like fertilizer for those good bacteria.
Mm.
So eating prebiotics helps the beneficial microbes already there to thrive.
Okay, so feed the crew with fiber,
Hmm.
maybe introduce more good guys with probiotics, and give them fertilizer with prebiotics. Got it.
Mhm.
Anything else diet-wise?
Antioxidants. Found abundantly in colorful fruits and vegetables. They help combat inflammation, both in the gut and systemically. And just generally, eating a diet rich in whole plants and low in processed foods, added sugars, and unhealthy fats naturally helps lower inflammation, which creates a much healthier environment for your gut microbes and the gut lining itself.
So, summing up the diet part, eat a wide range of plants, feed your microbes well, maybe add some fermented foods, keep inflammation down. That supports the gut, which sends better signals up the vagus nerve.
That's the idea. And the other key area was stress management.
Right. How critical is that?
Really critical. The material reinforced that chronic high stress doesn't just mess with your main brain, it directly impacts your gut. It can change how quickly things move through, it can affect the integrity of the gut lining, sometimes called leaky gut, and it can shift the balance of your microbiome.
Wow.
So finding ways to manage stress isn't just about feeling calmer mentally, it's actually a direct strategy for improving your gut health.
How does managing stress help the gut-brain axis specifically then?
Well, by calming down the stress response in your brain and nervous system, you reduce those disruptive signals being sent down the vagus nerve to your gut.
Okay.
Things like mindfulness, meditation, deep breathing exercises, yoga, regular physical activity, even just making sure you get enough sleep. These all help regulate your nervous system. They dial down that fight or flight response and promote a more balanced state, which benefits both your brain and your gut. Taking care of your mental health is a direct investment in your gut health.
It really does all circle back, doesn't it? This whole system is just so incredibly interconnected.
It truly is.
Yeah.
And just understanding that connection, it kind of changes everything.
So if we had to boil it down,
Mm-hmm.
what's the single most important takeaway from this deep dive?
I think the core insight is that your gut and your brain, they aren't separate things operating independently. They're in constant, dynamic, two-way communication.
Right.
Through this complex axis involving your gut's own second brain, that crucial vagus nerve highway, and, importantly, your trillions of microbial partners down there.
And realizing this, recognizing this powerful link, it's fundamentally shifting how we understand health and disease. It's opening up completely new ways to research and treat conditions, from gut issues and mood problems to potentially much bigger chronic diseases, maybe even how we think.
Yeah, it really makes you think about those old sayings like gut feeling with a whole new level of respect for the actual biology happening beneath the surface.
It's fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe a final thought for everyone listening. If our gut health can genuinely influence our mood so much, our thinking, how we react to pain and stress, what does that really tell us about how deeply interconnected our physical and mental selves actually are? And knowing this, how might paying a bit more mindful attention to our second brain really change how we approach our own health journey from now on?